Welcome back to the Wrong Advice Podcast. I'm your host, John Picciuto, and I'm very excited to have Mr. Matthieu Guillot on with us today. Matthew, how you doing, my friend?
I'm pretty good. Thank you for inviting me. I'm very happy to be there. Very excited.
Me too. I'm
So,
super excited to have you on the podcast today. Can you give a quick introduction to the listeners to who you are?
yeah, of course. So my name is Matthieu Guillot. I am French. Sorry for my accent. I'm going to make sure I can talk properly for everybody to understand. I am 32 years old. I'm living in New York. I am a photographer and I am also a wine expert. And I think that it's something we can
Ooh.
talk about a bit later. So,
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, that it's me. What else I can say? I am 6.2 feet tall, so pretty much.
How long have you been living in New York?
So I've been living in New York for almost 8 years now. I arrived like by the end of 2015, and I start my journey in New York. I
Hmm.
joined my mom, who was living here for like already 12 years, and pretty much right now.
Nice. So your mom was living here already, and then you kind of just decided to make the
Mm,
move.
yeah. Like I have a lot of people asking the question like why did I move to New York if I have a proper goal and stuff like that, and I always replied no, I didn't have any goal. My goal was to change my life. And if today I am in front of you talking about what we are going to talk, it's because my life changed since I moved to New York, pretty
Oh, I
much.
like that. Were you doing photography before you moved to New York?
Absolutely not.
Oh.
uh, as I said in my introduction, I am a wine expert. I study wine because I'm coming from Burgundy, and I study wine for 10 years. So I have the different diploma about the wine business, how to make wine, how to take care of the vines, the floor, all the scientific scientist knowledge of the wine, marketing the wine, and also become a sommelier. And after my study, I start to find a job. You know, like you get 20 years old, you need to find a job, you need to get your own apartment. And I found my first job in a restaurant where they hire me as a sommelier. And pretty much until 2015, where I decided to join my to arrive in New York and join my mom. And it's very precise. It's very precise. I will never forget this day. January 26, 2016, we had this like huge snowstorm in New York, one of the biggest who I had since I am here. And it was like very early morning. I was bored, and I said, I need to do something. Like it's snowing outside. It's my first snowstorm in New York. I never seen one like that except in a movie. So I want to do something. And my mother had a very old camera. I still have it over there. And she said, take my camera and go outside. And since this day, photography really kicked me. And that is something we can go in details after if you want, where since this day to right now today with you, I became a fashion photographer full time, pretty
That's
much.
awesome. Yeah. I think it's funny that like a snowstorm sort of spurred you into a creative career, especially because you would think photography wise, you would need places to go, people to see. But sort of just starting off in the middle of a storm like that, I think that's like weirdly poetic, right? As everything's quiet and shut down, you just like dive into
It
something new.
it was very it's funny because it was very poetic and chaotic on the same time, where the entire city of New York is shut down because of the snow. And I was in a subway trying to figure out where I wanted to go, where what I wanted to shoot. I had no idea how to use a camera. I never used a camera in my life before, or maybe the little one, for the family picture.
Hmm.
Uh, and through the process of like going down on subway, I was like checking the camera, and I was like, oh, it's pretty cool. So after those like very very long hour, I was like, damn, I love the feeling by being behind a camera. So I'm going now to just do that for fun, as a hobby. And I work, I don't know how many hundred of hours in New York to capture absolutely everything. So yeah, it was poetic, but at the same time chaotic, because when you just arrived in New York and you see that, you are like, what the fuck is just happening right now? Like, I can't even work properly. I am lost. And I was like, yeah, okay. But it was very poetic. You're right.
Yeah. I mean, listen, you employ two of my favorite things in the world as your career, wine and photography. Um, I'm Italian, so like the French, we love our wines, obviously. Um, I literally just watched Som into the Bottle last night. Som and Som
Hmm.
into the Bottle are like two of my favorite documentaries. I own them. I watch them all the time. So it's very funny that you are a sommelier and a photographer. I mean, it's just like I think I now have just like discovered the next step of my my career evolution. I need to add, a wine title into into my career as well.
Wine,
Um,
wine is a very beautiful art as a photographer.
yeah. Hmm. No, I'm so glad you said that because I just recently watched the show Drops of the Gods, I believe it was called on
Hmm.
Apple TV. Did you watch it?
I didn't watch it, but a lot of people say you have to watch it. You have to look at it.
It's super good. As like I said, as a person who loves wine, the show is great. They talk about wine like it's art, and a lot of the I don't want to spoil anything. A lot of the show is sort of art and culture based and intertwined with the drinking of wine, which I think is kind of cool. They did a really good job. It's hard to talk about without
Yeah,
spoiling the whole show.
of course. But
But
most, go for
yeah,
it,
go
go for
ahead.
it. Most of the people don't realize how complex it is to make wine. It's not just like, oh, we just like press some grapes and boom, you have wine. It's no, no, no. It's months and years of work. Yeah, of course, you have the harvest, you make the juice, you put the juice in a barrel. People think it's like that, but it's way more complex. It's mathematics, it's science, it's like everything. It's super important. Every small dose to make a wine is very important. And I have like during my entire scholarship, I had the chance to work with different vineyard, and some of them like are very, very, very picky about everything. So I think it's interesting, like wine knowledge, it's able to reach everybody because I think it's a beautiful business as much as a coffee. Also, coffee business is very interesting. All the business with tests, the food, mostly with the food, I think it's very beautiful. I think it's a art business, like how to make cheese, how to make coffee, how to make tea. And I think it's very like, there is something behind it's very interesting. Who like really bring us as a human being to the ground where we can.
Well, it's funny because I completely agree with you first of all, and I was going to say because so much of wine creation is sort of like an art, right? Like there's so many ingredients that go into it, and the process, and the years that it makes to bring, an individual bottle to market is a lot of work. I'm curious if when you started getting into photography, if you saw a mirror or sort of a likeness to the process of wine creation and art creation, because fashion photography, there's a million cooks in the kitchen, so to speak. So I'm curious if like when you initially started and got into photography, if you notice any sort of resemblances to your life in the wine world.
That is a very good question. I never thought about that. I would say the similarity between wine and photography was the passion I had for it. Um, I tried multiple art passions, music, painting, a little bit of sculpting, but very little bit. And photography really resonated with me because the fact I can catch and stuck something in time, like catch a moment or create a moment also. But does I had the same feelings in the wine? I don't want to say yes, and I don't want to say no also. I think it was mostly about my passion I had for the product, because the photography, whatever if it's digital or of film at the end is a product.
Mm-hmm.
It's work, it's knowledge you put into those products. And I think yes, the feeling I had for the wine is the same than I have for the photography. In a way of like
Yeah.
it was a passion, something I really love it.
I think that's a great point because I just in listening to you say that, I think about the passion that I have for my career as a photographer, but then also the passion that I have for this podcast. And while they make me feel different things and the outcomes are obviously grossly different, um, they make me happy, right? They instill a fire in me to keep taking photos, to keep having conversations, and I think that's what ultimately is a great thing about life. You can find a million different things that make you happy, a million different things that inspire you to just create and or do something that you're passionate about, which I think I'm lucky. I'm 37. Took me a long time to find these things outside of like my working life that I'm passionate about. And I'm thankful that in the last 3 years, I've only been doing photography full time for 3 years. I'm lucky that I've been able to turn these passions into a career.
Yeah.
Um, I've found obviously there's a lot of trials and tribulations that you go through when you start making the journey down a creative path. When you started photography in 2016, talk to me about those early days. Talking to me about building a business and building a career for something that you're clearly passionate about, but is obviously not the easiest industry to break into.
So to be honest, when I started photography in 2016, I wasn't very into like making my own business and like evolving. I was just like, this young man arriving in New York, try to figure out his life, try to understand who he is, what he wants to do in his life. Like you, like I am a young photographer. I start like 5 years ago, 6 years ago. It's just like, I try to figure out who who I am, what I was, trying to see the evolution, what can change me, and really, really, what make me switch, what make me decide to literally switch my career, because I'm coming from a pretty big family in Burgundy, one of the top five family in Burgundy. So my name, not my name as a Guillot, but my name in my family is a big legacy for me, like a huge one. We are talking about like the number one sell in USA in terms of wine market. So
Wow.
from Burgundy, not from France, only from
Mm-hmm.
Burgundy.
Yeah.
So I had this legacy like following me, and the story of why I decide to switch. But literally a day to another, I say, fuck it, I'm tired of that. I'm going to switch. It was one night I was in a restaurant in West Village. I was behind a bar, and I was also a sommelier at this moment in this restaurant. And one of the wine seller came to me, and he was with another wine seller. And he come to me, he said, "Oh, this is Matthieu, the great grandson of this person." And I was like, "No, my name is Matthieu. I am, yes, the great grandson, but my name is Matthieu. You call me by my name. I'm not just like a great grandson." And he replied to me, he said, "Well, but for me, you will be always a great grandson." And I was like, "Okay, motherfucker, let's do that. No problem. But if you consider me only as a great grandson of someone, but well, your wine would not be on my menu. So thank you and get the fuck out of the restaurant right now." Like, and what was very funny, the second wine seller was a representative of my family brand. I don't want to go over this history because we need more than 1 hour, but
Yeah.
like 40 years ago, my family, the wine business family got bought by an American family. And this person was working now for the American family. And he was there and he was like, "Wait a minute, you are the great grandson of this person?" "Yes, what, you want my blood test? You want me to show you my blood test?" So, "No, I believe you, because I think we met your mother like a few years ago." I said, yeah, you're right. You met my mother. And And the night after that, I went home and I was like, I closed the door of my apartment and I cry. I cry for 2 days, and I was like, I just realized people know me by someone else and not by who I am and what I am doing. And this
Ooh.
day I was like, fuck that shit. I'm going to do photography. It's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult. I'm going to eat potato until the rest of the month, but I will do it. But I was very lucky because at this moment happened, I was also taking some classes at ICP for photo studio. And the energy of the universe make things happen. I applied for a job on a Facebook market of someone who was looking for a photographer full time. I apply, they hire me. So it was like just like a big switch. It happened on like maybe 1 month or 1 month and a half, but it was a big switch where I was like, fuck it. I prefer to be poor. I prefer to be miserable, but at least I will be happy to do something I love.
I mean,
Pretty much.
Matthew, I fucking love that. I mean, it brings up a lot of questions. You know, there's always that like thing in the news, like, or like the news. It's on fucking TikTok, right? Talking about nepo babies and nepotism that has led to X young singer, actor, whoever who's now doing the thing, right? I don't understand people who like fault kids and people in their 20s for getting a leg up in life based on who their parents were. I am curious how you take a legacy like you have with your family's company and the obvious success that they've had over multiple generations. How difficult of a decision was it for you to look at that and say, I appreciate it, I love it, but it's not for me? Like, I mean, I would imagine it wasn't just night and day. This, right? I imagine it was a tough conversation to have with your family.
No,
It's
no, no, no,
no.
because my mother always support me. I make
Mm-hmm.
let's be very honest. Huh? I make through the entire process of who I am today. It's because I have my mother with me. She support me when she need to talk to me and say, "Hey, Matthew, doing some bullshit. You have to stop right now." I listen, I analyze, and I make the switch. My family is very supportive in a way of like, yeah, you want to do that, you do that. You have no, we are not holding you to do something else. I studied the
Mm-hmm.
wine, and it was something I love it at this moment, and I wanted to kind of like also follow the step of my great grandfather. And no, to be honest with you, hello, mommy. Yeah. Oh, I am a photographer right now. Okay, thank you. I love you. Bye bye. That's it. Like that's it. It was like it wasn't like very like it's not like Succession. Did you watch the TV show Succession? Like
Yeah.
it wasn't like, oh yes, Matthew is the next one. No, it
Yeah.
wasn't like
Right.
that. Even if I make it sound like it was big, I never was like in a way of like, oh yeah, Matthew because he did a study will be the next one. So I didn't have this like pressure
Pressure.
on my shoulder. So it wasn't very like a dramatic end of like this like very long episode of like 30 years and boom suddenly he decided to change his life and become an artist. No, no, no. It was pretty easy. My grandmother, my mother, even my grandfather support me a lot, and pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's great. I mean, like, I completely agree with you. I harp often on this podcast that were it not for the support and you know love that I get from my family, I don't think anything in life is possible without them. I mean, for me at least. I know
Mm.
people have different experiences with families, and I'm fortunate where with where I not to have them in my corner, I don't know how successful I would be in life. I think the lessons that you learn as a kid, growing up in an Italian household, I think are something that I've always carried with me, and it's been a huge benefit to my longevity and growth as a human being. Just being able to take those lessons and grow from them. Um, I found myself very drawn to your photography since I got introduced to it as early as last week.
Yes, definitely last week. Yes.
shout out, shout out to James Wolf for introducing us. But what I was struck by was there's a high degree of contrast, and there's something evocative about your black and white imagery that I was very naturally drawn to. Obviously, you don't shoot exclusively in black and white, but I'm curious about when you're photographing and working process wise, what leads you to generating, say, a black and white image versus a color image?
So first thing, I mostly shoot only black and white. 99% of my job it's black and white. Working with agency with model is black and white. I have some color, but it's very when the picture inspire me. You know what inspire me about the black and white, and it's pretty funny because I make a reels about that like I think 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. I had this sentence I read like very early of my beginning, 2016. I found this photographer called Ted Grant, which is a specialized master of black and white and everything. And he said, when you photography people in color, you photography their clothes, but when you photography in black and white, you photography their soul. And the bit of my background is like my mother is also an artist, which she's also very like into the soul of the human being on itself. Whatever the gender, whatever the color, whatever the region, who you are, at the end of the day, we have 10 fingers, a nose, 2 eyes, a sex. You are a human being. And by watching her doing her art, watching her evolving with her art, and always talking about the respect of the human being, the love for the human being, I think the black and white really inspire me by that, by the soul of the human being, the eye, the contact, the energy, the attitude. And on top of that, I had a second layer about who I am. When I do my black and white, I try to express myself of who I am. Someone sharp, straightforward. Sometimes people can say I'm rude. Sometimes people can say I'm an asshole. But the honesty of me being who I am. And whatever the model I have in front of me, it can be a woman, it can be a man, it can be LGBT community model. I work with a lot of wonderful trans women. At the end of the day, when I finish to create this frame, it's reflecting who I am also. The dark is dark. The light is light. It's not like a nuance of gray where like I think everybody is right now in 2023. Like everybody is like they don't know where to want to be and they are in this gray area. Me, it's black is black, white is white. Period is nothing else. And I think I'm inspired by that when I do my photography, by the respect I have for human being and by my sharpness.
I like that. I mean, so I shoot with Leica. I'm not sure what brand you shoot with. I found myself very recently being drawn to purchasing a monochrome camera because I think, yeah, I know, right? It's just
Oh,
it's
oh,
just so
eight
expensive.
$8,000 a camera. Yeah, okay. I have to do some photo shoots. Let's go.
No, I agree. So like I've been drawn to, so I do a lot of street photography, which is like my biggest passion when it comes to photography is just going out. I have a Leica MP and I shoot film and that process of getting out in the street, watching life unfold and documenting it is the single thing that I love most about photography. It's my biggest passion
Hmm.
and the thing I love most. Obviously it doesn't pay. It's not like as if I'm selling dozens of prints a week, right? It's
No, for sure.
strictly just for the love and the joy of taking those images. And I was looking at the new M11 monochrome and the Q2 monochrome and these wonderful tools that I could utilize for the process of creating these, street art photos that like I see these like a whole sort of process and a whole journey and story that I would love to tell in black and white. Um, Clearly not there financially yet, but it's been something that I think a lot about because I agree with you. There is just something inherently beautiful and very it's very easy to tell a story in black and white. I think you are able to convey better. I am at least, and maybe you would agree. You could convey emotion a little bit stronger to me in black and white than you can with color. I think at times, like you said, you could be distracted by the outfits, by the colors, by what's going on in the scene, versus that black and white stark sort of.
I'm totally agree with you, and especially one thing we have to realize also is the fact we have like on a daily basis we have like thousand informations coming to our face every time. And when I start to do photography, I start to do a little bit of color because I need to understand how my camera and my eyes work together at the same time. And I was like, it's too brutal, it's too violent, like too much color, too much details, too much like your eyes is looking on the picture, you don't have a center point where you can focus on it and like feel peaceful. And when I really start to like choose my style and stick to my style, as you say, with black and white, you can say a story very quickly. Because apparently nowadays, like if you don't say a story through your photography, you're not a photographer. Give me more, please. So yeah, I think yeah, black and white have these abilities to calm down any temper, help you to focus more, and very like can say story more easier.
Yeah. No,
I think
I
you're
mean,
right.
listen, I'm a big fan of it, and I wish I could just produce in monochrome. I tend to shoot, I would say like half the time with just like my viewfinder and my LCD screen in black and white because I think it like at least me from like my ADHD brain it removes distraction of whatever might be happening. And I see that like when I shoot street photography, I'm envisioning the scene in black and white in my head, whether I'm shooting color or black and white film. I was having a conversation with someone recently, and they were mentioning how, black and white content on social media doesn't do as well as color content, and that sort of like bummed me out, and also made me think like, why the fuck am I just so wrapped up and concerned with things like Instagram followers, likes, all that dumb shit. As a photographer, who's a professional, what is your relationship like with social media?
I love I love my followers. I don't have that much. I have like 3,000 something. I have a lot of support from them. It's cause of them if also I am able to be like the love they show me since the beginning. But for real, fuck social media. Or at least not fuck social media, but or at least understanding if you drown in the mass of people, how you want to become an elite. That is also something where I am like, okay, everybody do color, everybody do the same thing. We can we can put 1 million photographer from 1 million different photographer who are like into social media. They are all looking the same, all looking the same color tone, the same editing, the same vibe, the same energy. They produce that. As I said before, I will be myself. I don't own myself right now. They produce that to do the math because they are interesting and they are attract only for the follower. Me, the opposite. I do my work for me. If
Yeah.
people love my work, great. If you don't love my work, I will sleep the same at the night. Like it doesn't bother me. Of
I,
course,
I
go for it.
I was just saying, I'm so glad you just said that because it's something that recently just dawned on me, like yesterday, the day before. Like, I'm researching trending audios to use for reels on Instagram. And when I realize is that all I'm doing is producing another piece of content tied to another song that, 200,000 other people have already done. I'm like, well, how does that separate me at all or what I'm doing at all from the masses? And it doesn't. You're right. All it does is put you in a box with 200,000 other people who are all doing the same thing. And it was the first time where I thought to think, well, dude, what the fuck are you doing this for? Like, why do you
Mm,
care?
mm, mm,
And it's funny because I was talking to a photographer friend of mine yesterday, and I was like, I've been struggling lately with the. I'm the most inspired I've ever been. I'm shooting more than I have ever. Right, I'm only 3 years into this. I'm busy as can be. I'm I'm making more money than I have in 3 years. I'm getting better work, better clients. My opportunities are boundless, and I'm inspired on a daily basis, but the inspiration dies at wanting to share what I'm creating because I don't feel that connection to the audience anymore that I used to, like maybe like 6 months ago. And it's something that I'm like trying to get back to, trying to, get any semblance of a creative boost from social media. But I think maybe I've reached a point where like my relationship with it is sort of gone.
After, also it's kind of like annoying because we are depending on that. If tomorrow you come to me and say, okay, I have a new concept, you don't need to post your picture anymore on social media, and you are still going to have people following you, you're going to have a fan base and stuff like that. The fact is like we are linked to that. We are deeply linked to that. And yes, it's kind of like make me sad when one of my followers doesn't reach the 100 like. It make me sad. I'm say, what the fuck happened? One more time, the algorithm, it's bad. And sometimes, and you talk about something before, the imposter syndrome. And like sometimes I was like, oh, my picture did reach just 43 like, and I have 3,000 followers. Oh, what's happened with my picture? Nobody like it. Oh, I'm not good enough. Oh, that. And I send the picture to my mom, and she say, it's a beautiful picture, my son. And I don't say that because you are my son. I say that because it's a beautiful picture. So I have also, or something who really helped me a lot to go through this like pressure of the social media. I also have a lot of people outside of the social media who compliment, like my photo, how you like an hamburger in your plate. You take the hamburger, you taste it, you're like, oh my God, I like it. So I have the real feeling of people commenting and liking my picture. And that also helped me a lot through this like anger I have against the social media. I wish tomorrow like we can get rid of it, but at the
you
same
know
time,
the
go.
Yeah, I was gonna say the thing that makes me like sort of okay with it all is that when I'm taking pictures, like when I'm in studio or wherever I'm on working project, whether I'm in the street or in studio or whatever, when I capture an image that I know is good and like I do the thing that I know I was meant here to do, and I look at the back of that camera and I see that image and I still geek out over it. I still get giddy. I still laugh. I'm like, oh, fuck, I
Same.
can't believe I did it again because it's the thing I love most in the world. And like to me, it's like I've been working consciously just as a human, not letting like little minor inconvenience things frustrate me anymore. Because I think as you start to get older, you realize none of this really matters, right? Like number of likes on an Instagram post, who the fuck cares? I'm not going to be talking about that 50 years from now on my deathbed. I'm not going to be wishing that I'd spent more time researching trending sounds. No, of course not. I'm going to be hoping that I had spent as much time as I possibly could with my friends and family. And I think you get to a certain point where that relationship with social media becomes the way that it should be. It's just another tool. It's another business outlet. It's another place for me to hopefully grow, but
Yeah.
like it doesn't need to be a place that I spend 3 hours a day on anymore, which I think
But
is a relief.
you're right. But at the same time, we have no choice. Well,
Yeah.
as I'm working a lot, I'm very well connected with model and agency because my work as a fashion photographer. I feel also I have this things I love is to be connected with a model, helping them, working with them, go over difficulties they have in the business. And my Instagram helped me a lot in a way of reaching out those people. If I am where I am today, we have to be honest, it's because of Instagram. It's because of the social
Mm-hmm.
media. Like if I never post any of my picture on any social media, and I would be like the dumbest asshole in the world, say, I don't know, I am against social media, I will do it without. Let's be very clear. It's not possible. Like it's not
Yeah.
possible. You can go and make business without social media when you are
A creative.
a creative. Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so we have to accept it, but at the same time, fuck it. Like I
Yeah.
I have a lot of, sorry, my bad. I have a lot of interaction with like most of my followers. I'm talking every day. I reach out to hundreds of people. I make things work. So I try to use Instagram as a best. Okay.
I mean, listen, I like that. I think if you and I think long term in terms of like how to build success on social media, what it boils down to is community building, right? Because if I'm following you and I love your work, I want to see you be successful because I'm an admirer of what you're doing and like the things that you're putting out in the world. So like maybe you're going to sell a print and I'll be like, well, it's only $50, but like I know it'll go a long way to help someone, right? Like I think what's nice about social media is like it gives you the ability to help people and like also cheer people on, right? Like there is positives to it. I tend to dwell on the negative aspects of it because of the duality of it is. It's like this wonderful possible tool for great business and great success and brand growing and growth and whatever, but it's also a place that like could be a terribly toxic, tragic,
Oh,
horrible place.
it's definitely the most tragic, dramatic, gory place in the world. People
Yeah.
have no barrier on social networks. They are telling you you're a piece of shit. They mean it. Like,
Yeah.
okay, tell me that front of my face. I will listen to you and I will look at you and say, are you okay, bro? Like in social media, and we're talking about on Instagram, but go on Twitter.
It's a
Oh my
cesspool.
God. It's a hell on the world. Like heaven, hell owned by Satan is a peaceful place for real. It's a peaceful place. But
Yeah.
it's okay. We all have this moment. You, me, lot of photographer. We all have this moment where, it's up and down. And when you arrive at the bottom, we are like, I am tired of that. Okay, I'm going to change something. And many times during the process, my evolution of my career, many times I thought to myself, okay, you know what? I don't think I am successful. I'm going to do something who will make me successful. And I had this brunch discussion with my best friend. She's a model called Elisa, and she made me realize something this day. I was telling her like, you know what? I'm sad. I'm not inspired because I feel I could be somewhere else on my career. I don't think I'm successful, so I'm going to do color photography to become successful. And she told me, no, you are wrong. You are wrong because if you do color photography, you will not be happy. You will not produce great picture, and if you don't produce great picture, you are not going to be successful. But instead, if you do black and white, if you keep doing black and white, and you fucking love your black and white, well, you're going to produce higher quality picture, and you will become successful. And I was like, damn, she's fucking right.
Yeah.
Like she's right.
Yeah.
Like she really touched my point of like, in for that fuck all of the people who told me one day you will never go somewhere with your photography, with my black and white photography. Oh yeah, trust me, I heard that a lot. Because for them, I needed to follow the Instagram vibe, like this Instagram. Oh, you are black and white photographer. You should shoot in film. No. Oh yeah, but if you don't shoot in film, you are not a real photographer. Fuck you. Are you able to produce the quality of picture I'm doing? No. Do you already have on 5 years almost 10,000 hours behind a camera? No. So if I do it like that, it's because I love it. And everyone who love what they're doing, they should stick and audit as hard as they can what they love to do. And fuck it, all this like idea of like being successful, being famous. Like for me, one of my friends told me one day, you are famous at the moment one person talked about you when you are not in the room.
Ooh,
Why
I like
me?
that.
Why this person will talk about me when I'm not here? So like, look, James. Let's take the example of James. Stupid. We are friends with James. You are friends with James, and you come up to talk about me. For which reason? But at this moment, if you take that like that, I consider myself famous because James talk with you about me. It's like, that is being famous. Of course, when you have
I
a
like.
go for it, go for
I
it.
like. Yeah, I like that a lot. It's funny. I was having this conversation with my mom last weekend. Um, Someone paid me a really nice compliment recently, and I was, just talking about like how I forgot exactly what they said. Something to the extent of like, John, you're like very genuine and like you seem to care a lot about. I forgot what we were talking about, and I just wanted to pay my mother the compliment of like it felt good for me to hear that, but like I knew it would feel even better for her to feel that because I wanted to be like, look at the man that you helped create and raise, right? And that mentality of the conversations that are happening outside of your own purview leading towards your sense of fame or whatever it is, I think also even goes a step higher and further, which personally I think that's pretty fucking cool. And I like that. I think I have no hopes or dreams of any sort of notoriety or fame. I think 20-year-old John would have been fucking obsessed with having a million Instagram
Yeah,
followers or
of course.
whatever. I have no interest in that anymore. Um, but I do hope that when people talk about me when I'm not in the room, it's in a positive or you know generous manner. And I think that mentality has shifted a lot in the last few years, which I'm pretty thankful for.
I think, well, I created my Instagram account 2016. So I had a Facebook when I was younger, but I think social media is a purely an American education thing, like
Mm-hmm.
wine for French people and Italian people, and social media for like American people. It's my own opinion. Please don't be upset on the comments, okay?
I don't
I
think
don't
you're
want
wrong.
this.
I don't think you're wrong.
So
I don't think you're wrong.
I think when you base your entire education on, we want to make you rich first. We want to make you famous. We want to make you being big, a big person. When you bring those three things, your mind is totally confused. You don't know what you have to do. You're like, oh my God, I need to reach out to 1 million follower like that. I can have that. But at the end of the day, what do you get? You get free restaurant dinner with your boyfriend or girlfriend. You go to travel on your own self. And I had a discussion recently with another photographer, one of the few French people I want to work with. And he was like, he asked me like, oh, what, like you need to have 10K follower to start to do things. I said, no, I don't need to have 10K follower because I'm already doing things. I'm signed with an agency to do the test shots. They already send me 7 model. I'm constantly working. I don't need to have 10K. They need to have high quality instead of having high quantity.
Mm-hmm.
And also one thing, I think for people like you, me, James, people who are getting older, I think we come with an idea of what will be our goal in our life. And each person, of course, have a different one. My goal is like the morning of my 60th birthday, the next day. So, yes, the next day of my 60th birthday, I want to wake up, go to my small bathroom, big bathroom, depends on the money I have at this moment, and look myself in a mirror, but deeply looking myself in a mirror and ask myself, do I have any regrets? And right now I am on a path to give me 5 on my own mirror and say, fuck it, I'll make it happen. And
Yeah.
I think these young generations of people who are struggling by their identity, by who they are, what they want to do, and stuff like that, once they're going to get our age, they might be realizing something is wrong because you're going to learn on a many different way. It can be painful, it can be hurtful, it can be very dramatic, it can be very also a sweet process, a sweet evolution, a very, like this beautiful smell of an apple tart, like, like this process, but sometimes it also can smell shit.
Mm-hmm.
And this evolution, I think, more you get older, more you know how and be more accurate about what you want to do.
Absolutely. I absolutely love everything that you just said. I think it ties into like two really important things. The most watched content on most social media outlets, whether it's Instagram or TikTok or YouTube, whatever, is people talking about how to get followers and grow. And I think that's such an indicative uh, point of view of what people are trying and hoping for versus like when I look at content, I'm looking at other photographers, I'm looking at other creators and what they're actually creating. I'm not interested in hacking my way to 10,000. It's a number I don't really give a fuck about. But I am interested in being inspired by others people's creativity. And then that age thing is huge. I think 30 is a good time for you to start questioning like what the fuck am I doing with my life and like am I
Yes,
happy?
yes, yes,
And
yes.
it just gets more profound every year, right? As you get older, the things that matter become so more abundantly clear in your mind. It's your family, it's your friends, and it's your own happiness. And my only challenge to you on the 60-year-old regret thing is I try to ask myself that question every day. Like, do I regret anything that I did today? Do I have anything that I've done in the last week or month that I wish I hadn't? And if I'm auditing myself on that micro of a level, I've found that like my happiness is just like off the charts, right?
Mhm.
I'm no longer questioning what I'm doing on a daily basis because it's all coming from a place of positivity and happiness. And I used to just think out preemptively of like why I'm doing something or why I should do something for what the expected net benefit will be versus now I'm just going through life doing the things that I'm supposed to be doing on a daily, weekly, monthly basis because that's what I want to do and that's what makes me happy. And I think for so much of my life I never questioned that process.
It's very interesting what you just say. It's very, very interesting. I never thought about this thing like saying, oh, do I have any regrets about today? I have no time. Let's be honest. We have no time right now to have any regrets, any remorse about what's happened on one day. But we will have a time to look ourselves in 20, 30 years and say, wow, I fucking did it.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I see I make a beautiful picture. I send the message to my mom. She's like my first fan. She was like, "Oh my god, it's beautiful, my son." Whatever you want. And at the end of the year, at the end of those 30 years, when I will get 60 plus one day, and I look through all the shit I went through when I started my career, I will be like, it was fucking worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Every single penny. And even right now, talking with you, it's part of my process, my evolution, because the one I am today wasn't the one I was 5 years, 6 years, or 7 years ago when I arrived in New York. I will never be able to talk to you. You are a stranger to me. We don't even know each other. You know what I mean? Like 7 years ago, I would be like so shy. I would not be able to express myself in a way of like, I wasn't me. But right now, if today I'm capable to talk to you and share all this like life side, life point of view, life opinion, however you want to call that, is
Mm-hmm.
because I know in 30 years in the future, I will look at myself and say, well, maybe I say something wrong to John, but Do I have a regrets? I don't, because I am happy for who I am today and what I will be.
Yeah, I think that brings up like a tangent of sort of like the cancel culture, like life and world that we live in now.
Oh,
Because like if you're the biggest thing that I butt up against is like if in the moment you're doing something and living your life in a way that is aimed at not harming other people and not inherently a negative thing, if 10 years from now, shooting black and white photos is against the law, right? Like whatever, fucking something stupid. Like how were you to be able to make that right? Like why, it's like I just find it very funny because like to me, there's just an inherent fragility in life and like my desire to just grow, learn, and be happy are the three most things that I focus on a daily basis. And I'm not worried about regretting something that I do today, like whether I had like a fucking cheeseburger for lunch or, if I get drunk tonight. Like I'm not regretting those decisions. I'm regretting getting mad over something silly that is within my power to not get bothered by, right? I get mad and regret overreacting to something that inherently is not important, and those are the things that I try to mitigate for future sort of
I just
ne-
love what you just said. Like it's so, that is literally something I love about this type of discussion is like you open door, it can make evolve one of each other. And I am someone who overreact for absolutely everything. Like, but one more time also, I'm overreacting about like things. It's very important for me, like being a professional person, have a common sense, have manners. Overreacting on that. When someone cancel on me last minute of the photo shoot, I'm I'm ready to blow up on Instagram and to burn down his or her career or their career. I'm ready. I'm ready like to break any single bones they have in their body because you wasting my time. My time has a value. You wasting my time. You don't show up or you cancel last minute. I overreact. I overreact. But because why me? I'm putting so much energy on being professional, have good manners, have good common sense, bringing knowledge to people, bringing everything they need. Why I do that when another person just cancel on you and like nobody teach them? And I come back about something you say about the cancel culture. Like it needs to stop. It needs to stop.
I I completely agree with you. I think the biggest thing, my biggest pet peeve in life is wasting my time. So like whether someone's late or like you said cancels or like the thing that I say probably the most, I sound like a broken fucking record on this podcast. There's one real commodity in life that we have, and it's not money, it's time.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it's finite. It's not unlimited. We're not getting any more of it. And to me, it's disrespectful to waste it and mine, right? And that bugs the shit out of me. Something that I've gotten pretty good at in the last year is also being able to like gracefully like allow people to accidentally, I'm sure it's not maliciously on purpose, waste my time. And it used to be something that I would blow up about, and it used to be something that I would just fucking fly off the handle about. But now I sort of like look at it as like a gift, right? So like if I had a 2 hour shoot that it gets canceled on at 8 a.m. and I'm supposed to be in studio at 10, I look at those 2 hours as like a gift. Like I've now got 2 extra hours of my life back that I didn't have before that I was going to be doing something else. And what can I do in those 2 hours that's going to benefit me this week, this month, whatever? And that sort of like mindset is not something I had 6 months ago, let alone 6 years ago. And it's just something that like as I get older, I'm very astutely aware of how short life is and how fleeting it is, and the only thing I care about is the amount of time that I have left. And Like
Yeah,
I understand. Yeah.
it's kind of okay. See that like that. When you say the amount of time I have left, we also put pressure on ourselves on this way
Mm-hmm.
because we say like, oh my God, I still have like 49 years to live. Yeah, it's okay. You're going to live them. You're going to enjoy them. However you wanted that, you're going to do that. I'm talking about the time in the present
Yeah.
because
Well,
we go for it.
the only I was gonna say the only reason I want to push up against you is like it's assumed that you've got 50 years left, right? You know,
Kind of,
you walk
yes.
out you walk out your apartment tomorrow, you get hit by a bus. You had 5 hours left. You didn't know, right? So to me, it's like that. The thing that I was just most focused on a daily basis is my own mortality and making the most out of the present time that I have, not knowing whether 2 weeks from now I'm gonna get hit by a bus. That's what I mean when I think about it.
I see. I see
I
what you mean.
it, it's easy to say I have all of this time to accomplish all of these things, but the truth of the matter is that time fucking flies. Like I never thought I was going to see 37. I always like had this inherent negative feedback loop that was like, oh, I'm going to die young. It's going to be tragic. I'm going to get hit by a bus. Just something in my head, right? It's actually biologically, it's like a very biological thing. Most
Yeah,
men feel it.
yeah.
It's a biology thing. But now, like this, to the same degree, I'm astutely aware that like anything can go wrong at any moment's notice, and in order to avert a possibly nonsensical tragedy, I'm going to make about the most amount of time that I have with whether it's 50 years or 50 days, I'm going to make the most out of whatever time I have left. And I'm going to try to be as happy and as positive and as helpful as I can, because 25-year-old John was sort of like a piece of shit and didn't do that. So I feel like I've got some making up to do, and like I'm well on my way to being the person that I want to be, but
Uh,
always still a work in progress.
no, listen, you will still on work in progress until you die.
Yeah.
The absolute knowledge doesn't exist. The absolute happiness doesn't exist because we are all human beings. We are not robots. We are going to go through things who's going to upset us. We are going to live things who's going to upset us. My point of view about time, I just take my time. I just
I'm with you.
relax. I don't want. You know what?
It's a very
I have.
French way to be, right, Matthew?
Yeah, like I love to play video game. When I go home, I know I have millions things to do. I am like, oh, it's 9 p.m. Fuck it. I'll do that tomorrow morning when I wake up. I know I will be late, but I am late. It's okay. It's fine. Like if people doesn't appreciate because I am late, well,
Don't get me wrong, I do the same shit.
voilà.
How often my dishes remain in my sink because I'll do it in the morning. No big deal.
Same. But like I think we are living in this like generation of like the information, the amount of information we received every day. It's huge. It's
Mm-hmm.
among us. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
so if we feel rush with our own time, plus all this additional layer of like stress, pressure, all those things, like you are definitely never going to be happy. Whatever, how hard you try, if you just don't say, oh, you know what? Oh, it's 3 p.m. I'm going to take a nap.
Mm-hmm.
You take your nap, you wake up, you are happy, and you can do other things, And I think people really rush this process of like having a time,
I totally agree with you. I think fundamentally, doing what makes you happy and living your life in a manner that is hopefully unencumbrant to anybody else, right? Like you're not being negative in any way to other people. As long as you're like doing what makes you happy, I don't care if that means you sleep 8 hours a day. If that's the life you want to lead, do it.
Exactly.
If it's not affecting me, it's not affecting anyone else. At the end of the day, like whatever makes you happy, whether that's taking pictures, whether that's being a lawyer, a doctor, fucking a teacher, whatever it might be, like do the thing that makes you happy. And that's like the thing that I want to get across mostly, is that like with whatever time I have left, I'm going to be having these conversations. I'm going to be taking photos. I'm going to be drinking lots of wine, and I'm going to be hanging out with my friends and family because that's what makes me happy.
Exactly. And I think if you see someone in the street say, "Oh, I am happy by what I am doing," just look at their eyes, and you will
Mm-hmm.
see the truth right away. If they say the truth or not. Like I met so many people every day. Is my job. It's my job to be surrounded by beautiful human being, physically and mentally. And sometimes when I look at them and they say, "Oh yeah, I am happy. I'm running right now to do like 3 other photo shoot and boom and boom and that." When you look at them in their eyes, you see they are not happy because they think they are happy because they do something they love, but sometimes they don't take the time to really appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I say that to many of my friends. I said to many of the people in between 10 to 20 years, we are going to be in the most and highest depressions of the humankind we ever had.
Mm.
Because we are going to realize, not you and me, when I say we, is people on
Human
Earth,
race, yeah.
human race, we are going to realize we did something wrong since 50, 70 years, or since we are born. And it's not going to end up beautifully, like with all this identical crisis we are living right now, business crisis. Like when I have someone, my friend is the owner of a restaurant, he say, "Oh, I'm not able to find people to work," and on Instagram I see someone crying because she cannot pay her rent. Doesn't make sense. So I think in 10 to 15, 20 years we are going to live this like huge depression crisis where people are going to realize, why did I didn't take the time to do something I love and deeply love, and not attract by um, a non-physical, how I can say that, and not attracted by fame, money, or stuff like that. And
Yeah.
I'm very afraid for the future. To be honest with you, I'm very afraid because I think we need more people like James, you, and other friends being able to have those kind of discussion and help people to realize something doesn't go right. Like,
I got to be honest with you. I half agree and half disagree, and I think what it ultimately fundamentally boils down to is the part of me that agrees is that there's a superpower that I developed during the pandemic when I got fired from my job, which was being able to check in with myself and really ask myself, am I happy? Am I doing the things that I want to do with my life? And I say it's a superpower because on a granular level, it's like more like on a high level, it's very easy for you to say, yeah, I'm happy. I make a certain amount of money. I've got 2.5 kids. I've got a nice car and a nice watch and a pretty wife and a blah, blah, blah. But that's easy to do on the macro level. But on the granular micro level, it's really hard to dive into who you are as a person and find out if you're happy. And I did the work and I went to therapy and I extensively drilled into who I am as a human being to figure out what I was lacking with and what I wanted to change. And I did it. It's hard. It's like a difficult process. It's a work in progress. And not enough people do that work, to which point I agree that we're it's like a crisis of creative faith, right? Like
mm,
it's a very easy to go about, the American dream, white picket fence bullshit, and it's very hard to question whether any of those things are things that you actually want. And too often people don't ask themselves, is this what I want?
yeah,
And then you
I'm
get
agree with you.
trapped. Yeah.
I'm agree with
Matthew,
you.
dude, I'm so incredibly appreciative of your time today. This we could talk for hours more, and I would assume we're going to have a lot of wine nights together very soon. And thank
Next time we get each of us a bottle of wine, a glass. We have the same discussion and we drink wine. That's
deal
that is
deal.
the concept. That is the concept right now.
Sold. You got me. I have a very cheesy line. If you've been on my podcast, you're part of my family. So thank you so much for spending this hour with me, and hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you so much for inviting me, and I really enjoyed this hour. I think we could have gone very far in time-wise and discussion-wise, and I'm very excited to see you grow as a photographer, to see you grow as a podcaster, and I think I'm going to look at your back and see what you're doing more, because I really appreciate how you talk and what things you say, and you can be proud of you. I think that everybody needs to hear that one day. You can be proud of you because you make it happen every day, man. And congratulations to you.
Thank you so much, man. Have a great rest of your night. Take care.
Have a great day. Take care.